We're talking to John Solomon. He is the guy who has really busted this story wide open, done all the research, and he is being smeared by the press. He is being smeared by Congress. Just one quick cleanup question. Do you have any inkling or any feeling that you will go after the media or Schiff with some sort of a lawsuit on what's happening?
Listen, my lawyers and I are taking a look at some of the more outrageously false claims that are in some of these news articles, and we'll make a decision soon on whether to take some action. If I do so, it's not to make money. It will be to correct the factual record so that the American public can make a better judgment about what's going on. But you know, it's sad. It's sad to watch a profession ignore the facts and engage in ad hominem attacks when they have so many of the facts wrong. I mean, when I can go through any story and disassemble half the facts, and they're just simply wrong. And I have great moments. I had a Washington Post reporter call me one night, and they said, we're writing a story debunking your story. And I said, which one? Oh, I don't know. The one they're talking about on the Hill. And I said, well, have you read the story? And she said, no, I haven't. And I said, well, how can you debunk something you haven't read? I said, I don't to read it. And I said, well, there's a very important document story. Well, you'll have to send it to me because I don't have time to go get it.
Unbelievable.
That's how American journalism has been committed against me, and it's really scary.
All right, so it's not just about you, but I want to talk about Lysenko. Now, I've talked to Rudy Giuliani, and he's even said Lysenko is, you know, he says one thing, then he says another, so you can't always take everything that he says at face value, you know, and they're all corrupt, as he said. Everybody, you just have to assume going in, don't trust anybody. However, with Lysenko, his name is in this report over 60 times, and every single time he's mentioned, they call him corrupt, but they never cite a charge. Why is he considered corrupt now when Biden labeled him as one of the good guys just, you know, the years prior? What did he do? Is there any charge? Is there anything? Because they all call him corrupt, but there is no evidence that we can find anywhere that he was charged or questioned about anything.
Yeah, in every column I wrote on Ukraine, I carefully noted to the reader that everything in Ukraine is a Wild West. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of politics. Take everything with a grain of salt, but there's enough evidence that you should look at. And again, I don't know of any corruption charges that were lodged against Lysenko formally. Certainly not in the time when I interviewed him. He was the sitting attorney general of the country, pretty senior official. But I didn't just take Lysenko's word for things. I went and got the State Department's side of the story. And here's the important part. There's very little difference between the State Department and Lysenko. They want to argue over the word whether a list was given from the ambassador to him. Whether it was a list or a set of names, the State Department has testified under oath. Yes, we did pressure the Ukraine prosecutor's office on multiple cases not to pursue certain people that we liked or that we considered anti-corruption activists. So the thing that Lysenko was highlighting, that there was this pressure that created resentment between the Ukrainians and the State Department, remains true today. Whether there was a list or just some names discussed, the State Department was interfering in internal investigations of the Ukrainian government, and that made the prosecutors mad, and that's what created that dysfunction I highlighted. And I think that's the part that the Democrats want to ignore, because it's true.
Okay, so this is so easy to explain with Lysenko, but I know you saw the Kent testimony. When Kent was asked, did we pressure, is there any pressure on the embassy, you know, from the embassy or from the State Department to not prosecute anybody? He said, absolutely not. I can't imagine we did this. I know you have it. We have it as well, a 3-page letter written by Kent.
It was. And he in the deposition, right? So here's where the State Department officials get exposed for their diplo speak and their double speak. They'll say it really wasn't pressure when we wrote a letter saying there's no evidence and you shouldn't be pursuing George Soros's group called ANTAC. It wasn't really pressure when we told them we don't think you should investigate the parliamentary member Lysenko. It really wasn't pressure when we told them not to investigate the journalist named Shabanin. Well, guess what? The Ukrainians took that as pressure, and why? Because they're relying on the U.S. Embassy and their aid to survive. They can play semantics with pressure. They can play semantics with lists. But what they did was specifically instruct the Ukrainians on multiple occasions, we don't want you pursuing, harassing, investigating, prosecuting these people. And before I did my stories, I interviewed the State Department, and they said, yeah, we did that. Yep, that name we did. Yep, that name we did. And I put that in the story. I did a lot of reporting that didn't rely on either Yovanovitch or Lysenko's account of the meeting. It relied on the bigger issue. Is there a dysfunction and pressure going on between the embassy? And that remains true today.
So, John, I mean, the volumes of information that you have, the documents that we have shared with
Right.
you've given to us, and we have found additional stuff. Why this case is so clear? Why are the Republicans not sitting down when they're called a conspiracy theory? Why are they not sitting in front of television saying, here's the document?
Yeah.
Why is this not happening?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. In some cases they have. I mean, Devin Nunes has made some pretty strong statements during the hearings, and I think Lindsey Graham now is requesting some of these documents, right? There was a document request just last week. I think at the end of the day, each side, each party is going to come to whatever they think their best strategy is, both for resolving impeachment and for 2020 politics and just for traditional oversight. But there is a body of evidence that you have, I have, Rudy Giuliani has, ABC News has, New York Times has. Remember, before the New York Times, Washington Post, and ABC and all these others turned on me, they confirmed my stories back in May and April. Then they abandoned them when the criticism of the Democrats began, which is a really odd dynamic in America. But there is a body of trail that those three issues we talked about are true, and they're important oversight issues, and somebody should step to the plate and look at them. That's why I wrote the columns, not to demean any ambassador or cause anything to highlight public interest issues that probably needed oversight. And, I think the country, many people in the country appreciate what I did. Hopefully Congress will do its job and do the oversight and get to the bottom of these issues.
I hope so, too. John, thank you so much for your reporting.
Thanks,
and I feel for you. I know what it's like to be...
You've been there.
Yeah, and where do you go to get your reputation back? I want you to know we are grateful, and there are millions of Americans that are grateful for what you've done. John Solomon.
So that means a lot.
You bet.